Welcome to Week 8 of Prospect Football Weekly, sponsored by Buffalo Wild Wings. We are back here in the TV studio after a live broadcast last week. Coach Sebastian, nice to see you again.
Oh, it's good to see you.
All right, so last week against Hershey, you guys had a very quality first half. You stuck with Hershey. It was 14-10 at halftime. What was the key to that first half?
I thought our defense did a very nice job at the start of the game. Kept ourselves kind of in the ball game. Took our offense a little while to get on track. I think defensively we did a nice job of not giving too much ground, keeping ourselves in the ball game. And unfortunately we gave up a big play to make it 14-7, marched back down, kicked the field goal. So we had opportunities, I think, at the end of the first half there where we were doing some good things, and unfortunately, whereas we've started slow and then kind of moved along as the second half's come along, this week we started fast and unfortunately did not carry that momentum over into the second half.
And talk about carrying that momentum over the second half. What do you think happened in the second half that really changed the momentum of the game, changed the outlook of the game?
I think we just, possession was not one of our strong suits. You can't turn balls over in a football game, and we turned the ball over 3 times in that game. I think defense got a nice stop to start, and then we threw the one pick. Nick's trying to make a play, so you can't really fault him with that scenario. And unfortunately, then we gave up a big play, gave up the reverse. We had someone home, but the kid made a move on him, but then the other guys that are supposed to be there weren't. So, it's a collective situation where we got to play discipline, and we didn't. And unfortunately, once that got to 21-10, we started to press a little bit instead of maybe staying in the offense. And that, very quickly turned from 21 to 28, and then, now we're chasing. And we're not in a situation where right now we're playing well enough offensively where we can chase. We've got to control more of the tempo, and we have not done that really at all this year. And that's been, I think, one of the biggest issues and why we've put ourselves, unfortunately, in the hole we're in right now.
You talked about Nick Ergosolo made his first start as varsity quarterback last Friday. What did you think of his performance?
I thought Nick did a nice job. I thought there were some things we've got to, obviously fix and correct. It's his first varsity start as a junior. I mean, it's not going to be perfect. So I think, the biggest thing, is correcting some of the mistakes that were made as the game went on, emphasizing the positives and what he does well. I think we've really focused again this week in trying to do some of those things to give him the best chance to be successful. I think what will help is we'll be getting some people back, I think, this week on both sides of the ball, but even offensively especially, that can help make us a more dynamic offense, and I think that's going to be a good thing going forward. Whether Nick is continuing to play at the quarterback or he goes back out to receiver because we have some different guys coming back. I think that's going to be helpful as we go forward here. It gives us a little added dimension as an offense.
And then after the game on Friday night, you said Hershey did a great job of blocking, but you guys had trouble disengaging. Have you guys worked on that, and how are you guys going to avoid this in the final 2 weeks?
By going back to basics in practice. Doing a better job of striking on the perimeter, especially with our receivers, our linebackers, to disengage and get off blocks. I think we felt that we did not do a very good job of that in the game itself. We need to do a better job of that this week. Wheeling's going to be physical on the edge, and if we don't do that, we're going to be in a lot of the same problems that we were in on Friday night.
And then obviously the crowd was very loud. What do you think your team can take away from an atmosphere like that where the crowd was so loud on Friday night?
I think sometimes we, to be very frank with you, we get too focused in terms of, the atmosphere, and sometimes we got to understand that the atmosphere is not playing the football game. We've got to do a better job as a team of focusing in on what we can control and what we can't control. We can't control the atmosphere. It's wonderful, it's great, but that's part of the issue I think on the road is we have relied too much on the atmosphere to bring energy, and we've got to bring our own energy, and we've talked about that this week again, and we've talked about that before, is that you got to play like there's no one there and play for each other, because the only people going on the field are the guys that are practicing all week, not the kids that are in the stands. And while you appreciate what they do and you appreciate the energy of the kids, and they're wonderful, it's awesome. None of them are going to be asked to go make a tackle. So we have to do our job to make that energy that they're bringing constructive. Otherwise, we're wasting that energy and not focusing, doing our little details, our little job.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Mhm.
We will now bring on special guests, quarterback Nick Ergosolo and wide receiver Chase Cummings. Welcome back to Week 8 of Prospect Football Weekly. We're changing it up a little bit this week. We're going with two special guests. I'm joined by quarterback Nick Ergosolo and wide receiver Chase Cummings. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So, Nick, last week was your first start at varsity quarterback.
Yeah.
What was it like for you?
I mean, it was a real good experience. It was new, and it was a lot of pressure, but it was nice to play in front of the home crowd.
Then Chase, you caught a lot of Nick's passes in his first start.
Yeah.
What was it like working with him this last Friday night?
I thought it was a lot of fun. I mean, Eric's a great kid, and he delivers the ball there on time, and it's good.
And then Nick, what was it like with you connecting with your teammates during practice in the previous week and now this week trying to get ready for Friday night's game?
It's pretty easy for me to connect with my teammates because I've become close with them, and we're all pretty good friends, and that developed throughout the summer.
Chase, how has he done with connecting with everyone, getting him on the same page now that he's under center?
Yeah, he's done a great job connecting with everybody. He's a very friendly guy to be around, and he's always very helpful around us. So
Obviously, Nick, you're filling in for Andrew Shaffis. What do you think you can do differently than him to open up different dimensions of the offense?
I think me being slower forces us to pass the ball, and obviously the past 2 weeks we've had some success passing the ball, so shying away from the running game a little bit more and passing a little bit more, I guess that opened it up.
Chase, I'm sure you're enjoying those more
Yes.
targets.
I'm enjoying it.
Nick, what have you learned from Andrew so far? Has he been mentoring you while he's recovering?
Yeah, like during the game and during practice, he corrects like my little mistakes when I come off the field, tells me to take my steps, make my reads, or just focus and stay in the game. Yeah.
Chase, what do you think it's like working with another quarterback? Do you try and give him any words of wisdom?
Yeah, I mean, I worked with Matt Drew a little bit last year, and it's a very difficult spot that he's in, and I think he's doing an amazing job staying calm under the pressure and circumstances.
And then, obviously, you guys have 2 games remaining in the season. What do you think is going to be the key to making playoffs this year?
I think we just need to finish drives and focus and keep our head in the game. We can't choke up and finish drives early when we got to put in the end zone.
I think we need to play as one. If we can do that, we'll be fine.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. We will now be joined by special guest, freshman coach Dominic Cannon. I'm here with special guest, freshman coach Dominic Cannon. Coach Cannon, thank you for joining us.
No problem. Happy to be here.
Thank you, Coach. So far with the freshmen this season, what has impressed you the most about the team?
I'll tell you what, they work really hard. They're a great group. They have a lot of fun. I just like being around them. They're a great group. They're really a tight-knit group, and we're just trying to get better.
What do you think is your favorite part of job as the coach of the freshman team?
You know, I think there's a lot of things. Number one, I like to see the freshmen stay within the program, and it's really nice to see when they're seniors or juniors, when they get to be upperclassmen, the Billy Matzicks of the world, the Andrew Shaffis, and they play at the varsity level. It's nice to see that I coach those guys as freshmen, and now they're on the varsity. Obviously, the whole goal for all of us at the lower levels is to make sure they continue playing and enjoying the game.
So basically, what do you think is your differences between coaching freshmen versus coaching varsity? What do you think you do differently than, say, Coach Sebastian?
You got to have a lot more patience. Coach Sebastian deals with a lot more X's and O's. There's a lot more football involved. At the freshman level, you got to, we take baby steps. Just getting. Some kids have never played the game before. They don't know a lot of football. Some do. So the experience levels at the freshman level compared to the varsity are way different. Because kids have been in the program, they know how to play a little bit. They know the system. Well, we got to teach them the system first. So there's just a huge difference of experience between freshmen playing freshman football and varsity football.
And then on Friday nights, what is it like watching the kids playing on varsity that you coached freshman year?
I think that's the most rewarding. Besides watching them on Friday nights and getting rewarded and how hard they work, because we work extremely hard in our program, and then seeing those guys, some guys that are fortunate enough to play even college ball, no matter what the level, and then just being part of the program, they come back as alumni. We just had our alumni game, homecoming. But yeah, for me personally, it's just to see them grow as young men, play football, but they also, they give a lot of things to the community, and then they go on and go play college, or they become great, community members in either their college or whatever they do after college.
And then how important do you think it is for freshmen to get involved in athletics?
Yeah, well, I wish we had a lot more time for that, but I wish there's a lot of specialized sports at Prospect right now, which I'm not a fan of. I wish the kids would just be kids, play football, play basketball, go wrestling, go baseball, whatever the sport may be. It seems to me now, I've been around Prospect a long time, that there's too many individualized specializing in sports now. And I'm not a fan, and I never will be. I think kids just want to put the cleats away and grab a glove, or put the cleats away, grab a basketball. It used to be that way when I first got, I've been here a long time, you can see by the gray hair. So I just wish kids would play a lot more, because I think they can give our athletes, I don't think all the best athletes play all the sports. Our best athletes should play them all. That's what high school's for. That's my opinion.
All right. Thank you, Coach. We'll be right back with Coach Sebastian to take a look at this week's game against Wheeling. Welcome back to Week 8 of Prospect Football Weekly, sponsored by Buffalo Wild Wings. We are joined once again by Coach Sebastian to take a look at this week's matchup against Wheeling. Now, Wheeling is 2-1 in the conference. Their only loss coming against Rolling Meadows, who's on the top of the conference. What kind of matchup do you expect Friday night?
Well, they're a well-coached football team. They're very athletic, especially on the wings. I think we're going to have to be very disciplined on both sides of the ball to be successful. We've got our work cut out for ourselves at this point this week. It's a good football team. They're a team that's fighting for a playoff spot, same way we are. You know, the team who wins essentially gets a chance to continue that dream for another week. The one that loses is going home. So we've got to do our job in terms of being disciplined and control what we can control, play our scheme correctly, and hopefully that will get us a chance to be playing in a successful way on Friday night.
And then Wheeling has two great athletes in Jalen Dennis and Jason Shannon. How are you expecting to contain those two on Friday night?
I think you got to play team defense to do that. You're going to give up yardage to those kids. They're going to make plays because they're talented athletes, and they've got other kids that can do it too. Their core four receivers are pretty good as well. Their line does a nice job there, and that's a dangerous offense. And when you have, exceptional athletes, especially like, Jalen Dennis, like the Shannon kid, and you got to understand that you got a really bright young mind in terms of an offense coordinator, and Miles Osei calling the offense over there. Miles, I thought, did a great job last year calling their offense against us especially, and kind of controlling the tempo of the game. You've got to understand they're going to put their kids in positions to be successful. You've got to just stay within the basics of what you're doing defensively, be smart in terms of what you're doing defensively, and play as a unit. If we start playing in pieces, we're going to get in trouble. If we play disciplined unit-style defense, we should be okay.
When Wheeling's been playing at their best, they've been really successful at creating turnovers. How do you expect to limit turnovers on Friday night?
We're just going to have to really focus on ball security as the week goes on. Their defense has improved dramatically as the year has gone on. I know, the Herald likes to keep harping on the fact that their defense has struggled. The Herald hasn't been paying attention, to be very frank with you at that point. The defense struggled early in the year because they had so many injuries. If you look at the last 4.5-5 weeks, their defense has played really well. Coach Camadula, Coach Perlman, Coach Shinhoster have done a great job getting that defense kind of squared away, playing fast, playing hard to the ball. They're not giving up. They shut out BG last week. They gave up very few points to Rolling Meadows, and they only ended up being 28. They gave up, I think, only like 7 or 10 to Elk Grove, something like that. They did the same thing with Vernon Hills. They only gave up 14. I think they only gave up 14 to Deerfield because Deerfield scored on an interception. I mean, they haven't been giving up a lot of points. So that's why I laughed when I keep reading in the Herald that their defense has struggled. Their defense hasn't struggled somewhat. The Herald's not paying attention and doing their job and really watching these games. To be very frank with you, that's a good defense. That's a scary defense if we're not careful in terms of what we're looking at. So we've got to play ball control offense and keep possession of the football, and that's the only way we're going to be successful, because that defense could hurt us real fast if we're not careful.
And then you definitely said you guys are fighting for your playoffs lives. How are you going to handle a must-win game for Friday night?
I think by allowing these kids to really understand that they're playing for an opportunity that we haven't had in a couple of years, and asking them to dedicate themselves to really just focusing on this week, what's in front of them. And just all you can do is win the game in front of you at this point, and really focus on doing their job and playing together as a unit. I think their mindset has been really good this week. Their attitude's been very good in terms of how they've responded to the difficulties of last week in terms of the game. It's not fun to lose at home. It's not fun to be in a situation where you're hoping that you can do your job and be 4-3, and now you're 3-4, and you're really sitting on the precipice of either your season gets to continue on or your season's over. We're playing a playoff game right now. We win, we stay alive. We lose, our season's over in a week. So getting focused on that aspect, there's not a lot of things you have to do in terms of motivation this week. The kids are pretty motivated, and they've acted appropriately as the week has gone on. So we're hoping that will continue as the week finishes up at this point, and hopefully that comes together, and we play well on Friday night.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Good luck on Friday night.
Thank you, Paul.
Expect any surprises on Friday night?
I'm not saying anything. I'm
right.
not saying a word.
Thank you, Coach. This has
You're
been
welcome.
Week 8 of Prospect Football Weekly, sponsored by Buffalo Wild Wings. I'm your host, Paul Evers, and we will see you next week.